Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In our previous video, we have talked about expressing rational numbers in fraction form to decimal form and vice versa. If you haven't watched that video yet, please click the suggested video above. For this video, we are going to talk about Quarter 1 Module 6, that is Operations on Rational Numbers. Our first topic is all about addition and subtraction of fractions. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please click the subscribe button and the bell button for notifications. In adding and subtracting fractions, we have to consider if they are similar fractions, dissimilar fractions, or mixed fractions. For similar fractions, these are fractions that have the same denominator. Below are examples of similar fractions. 1/6, 5/6, and 11/6 are similar fractions because they have the same denominator, that is 6. And 1/12, 5/12, and 17/12 are also similar fractions because they have the same denominator, that is 12. Take note that fractions can be added and subtracted only when these fractions are similar fractions. If a, b, and c denote integers and b is not equal to 0, then a over b plus c over b is equal to a plus c over b, and a over b less c over b is equal to a less c over b. To better understand that, let's have examples. The first example is 1/5 plus 2/5. These are similar fractions because they have the same denominator, that is 5. According to the rule, we should copy the common denominator, that is 5, and then simply add the numbers in the numerator, that is 1 plus 2, that gives us 3/5. Check if the fraction is in the lowest term and 3/5 is in the lowest term. Therefore, that is our final answer. Another example, 5 over 21 plus 3 over 21. Again, we must copy the common denominator, that is 21, and add the numerators, 5 and 3. We have our answer, 8 over 21. Now assess if this fraction is in the lowest term, and yes, it is in the lowest term, therefore our final answer. For subtraction of similar fractions, we follow the same rule. Let's have 6 over 7 less 2 over 7, similar fractions. So we copy the common denominator, that is 7, and then we subtract the numerators. 6 less 2 is equal to 4, that gives us 4/7, and that is our final answer. Another example, 8 over 15 less 4 over 15 is equal to similar fractions. Copy the common denominator, subtract the numerators, that will give us 4 over 15, our final answer. For dissimilar fractions, these are fractions with different denominators. Below are examples of dissimilar fractions. 1/2, 5/3, and 11/6 are dissimilar fractions because they have different denominators, and also 1/12, 5/7, and 17 over 22. Dissimilar fractions cannot be added or subtracted directly. First, you need to convert dissimilar fractions to similar fractions. The steps in adding and subtracting fractions with different denominators, a over b and c over d, where b is not equal to 0 and d is not equal to 0, rename the fractions to make them similar, which denominator is the least common multiple of b and d. Next, add or subtract the numerators of the resulting fractions. Then write the result as a fraction whose numerator is the sum or difference of the numerators and which denominator is the least common multiple of b and d. Let's have an example. 2/5 plus 1/4 are dissimilar fractions because they have different denominators. According to our rule, we must first find the LCD. LCD is a number that can equally be divided by both denominators, 5 and 4. And the number is 20. Now, our first step is we divide 20 by our first denominator, that is 5, and then multiply it by 2. 20 divided by 5 is 4, and multiplied by 2 is 8. Of course, our operation is addition. Again, we divide 20 by 4 and then multiply it by 1. We have our answer 5. That is equal to, copy the common denominator as what we have learned earlier in adding similar fractions, and then add the numerators. We have our final answer, 13 over 20. Let's have an example in subtraction of fractions. We have 2/3 less 1/2. They are dissimilar fractions because they have different denominators. First, we find the LCD. Now, the LCD of 3 and 2 is 6. We divide 6 by the denominator of the first fraction and multiply it by the numerator. We have 6 divided by 3 is equal to 2 multiplied by 2. It gives us 4. The process is subtraction. Then we divide 6 divided by 2, that is 3, multiplied by 1, that is also equal to 3. And now we proceed with the rules in the subtraction of similar fractions. We copy the common denominator, that is 6, and subtract the numerators, 4 less 3, giving us the final answer, that is 1/6. For mixed numbers are quantities that have a whole number part and a fraction part. Below are examples of mixed fractions. For 3 and 1/4, the whole number is 3 and the fraction part is 1/4. And for 7 and 2/3, the whole number is 7 and the fraction is 2/3. We have steps in adding and subtracting mixed numbers. First, find the LCD of the fractions in the mixed numbers to make them similar fractions. Then, add or subtract the whole numbers and the similar fractions. Simplify if the resulting fraction is improper fraction. Let's have an example. 2 and 3/4 plus 1 and 2/3. Now first we add 2 and 1, the whole numbers, it gives us 3. And then we add 3/4 and 2/3 that are the fraction parts. Now we follow the rule that we followed in the addition of dissimilar fractions because they are dissimilar. First, we find the LCD, that is 12, and then divide it by 4. That gives us 3, multiplied by 3 gives us 9. Then the process is addition, so we have to add. Copy the LCD 12 divided by 3, that is 4, multiplied by 2 is equal to 8. Now they are similar fractions. We can add them by copying the common denominator and adding the numerators. That gives us 9 plus 8 is equal to 17 over 12. Since this is an improper fraction, we have to change it into mixed form. 17 divided by 12 is equal to 1. And our remainder is 5 because 17 less 12 is equal to 5. That will be our numerator, and we will copy the common denominator. But remember, we have a whole number 3, so we add it to our answer. That gives us our final answer, 4 and 5/12. For subtraction of mixed numbers, let's have an example. 7 and 1/2 less 1 and 1/3. We subtract the whole numbers. 7 less 1 is equal to 6. Now for the fraction part, we have 1/2 less 1/3. They are dissimilar fractions, so we have to find the LCD. The LCD of 2 and 3 is 6. Divided by 2 is 3, multiplied by 1 is equal to 3. The process is subtraction. We copy the LCD 6 divided by 3 is equal to 2 multiplied by 1 is equal to 2. Now subtract, we copy the common denominator 6 and subtract the numerators. The answer is 1/6. Remember, we still have a whole number 6, so that gives us a final answer 6 and 1/6.
Please click the subscribe button and bell button for notifications. Thank you.
Of course, this is usual in my previous videos that I always give you the simplest way to do the math. And that's how I make it easy. For addition of fractions, addition of similar fractions is easy because we just copy the common denominator and add the numerators. And the same with subtraction, we copy the common denominator and then add the numerators. But for dissimilar fractions, it took us quite a long time to figure out the answer. So I'm giving you a technique to subtract or add dissimilar fractions easily. First, we multiply the denominators 3 and 4. It gives us 12. Then we multiply 1 and 4. It gives us 4. Multiply 1 and 3. It gives us 3. Since our process is addition, we add 4 and 3. That gives us 7. Now we assess if 7/12 is already in the lowest term, and it is in the lowest term, therefore it is our final answer. This process is what we call the butterfly method. Let's have another example. 3/5 plus 7/10 is equal to, first, we multiply 5 and 10, the denominators, that gives us 50. That will be our denominator. Then we multiply 3 and 10. It gives us 30. Multiply 7 and 5. It gives us 35. Since our process is addition, we add them. 30 plus 35 is equal to 65. Since it is an improper fraction, we change it to a mixed number. Now, how many 50s are there in 65? There is only one 50 in 65. So we have 1 as a whole number. And then our remainder is 65 less 50 is equal to 15. And then we copy the common denominator. Now we assess if this fraction is in the lowest term, and it is not in the lowest term, because there is still a common factor of 15 and 50. And the greatest common factor is 5. So we cancel 15 divided by 5. We have 3. Cancel 50 divided by 5 is equal to 10. Now we have our fraction in the lowest term, or rather mixed number in the lowest term, 1 and 3/10. And that is our final answer. Some of our teachers accept improper fractions as a correct answer, but 65/50 is not the final answer in the case that it is an improper fraction because it is still in the higher term. Now, since we have a GCF of 50 and 65, we can still reduce it to the lowest term. Now we divide 65 by 5 because 5 is the GCF. This is how I mentally divide numbers. We know that 5 times 10 is equal to 50. So that means we have 10 in mind. And then 65 less 50 is 15. And in 15, there are 3 5s. So we have 10 in mind plus 3. Therefore, answer is 13. For 50, we know if it is divided by 5, the answer is 10. Therefore, the improper fraction is 13/10. That is in the lowest term. Another example, 3 1/2 plus 1/2. This is a combination of a mixed number and a proper fractions wherein the proper fractions are similar fractions. So for similar fractions, we just, again, copy the common denominator and add the numerators. Now we have 3 there, and then the common denominator is 2, so we just copy it and add the numerators. We have 3 and 2 halves. 2 halves is an improper fraction because an improper fraction is a fraction whose numerator is equal to or greater than the denominator. And in this case, 2 is equal to 2. Now we convert 2 halves into a whole number. 2 divided by 2 is equal to 1. Now we add it to the whole number. 3 plus 1. The final answer, 4. Let's move to subtraction of fractions. In this case, we are going to subtract mixed numbers whose proper fractions are similar fractions. First, we subtract the whole numbers 9 and 3. 9 less 3 is equal to 6. Then, let's move on to the fraction part. The common denominator is 7. We copy and then subtract the numerators. 5 less 2 is equal to 3. And that's our final answer. Another example, we have 16 over 24 less 6 over 12. Now, I can't imagine you multiplying 24 and 12 because this will take us quite some time. This is a skill that I will teach you. This is about the cancellation method, wherein we do not change the value of the fraction. Rather, we change it to the lowest term so that it would be easier for us to perform the operation. Either it's addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. Now, in addition and subtraction, cancellation is only vertical, top to bottom, up and down only. We do not cancel horizontally. We do not cancel diagonally. Remember, cancellation in addition and subtraction of fractions is only vertical. Now we can cancel 16 and 24 because they have a GCF. And that is 8. 16 can be divided by 8 without a remainder, and 24 can be divided by 8 without a remainder. Our answer, 2. And then divide 24 by 8. Our answer is 3. For 6/12, we have a GCF that is 6. Now we divide 6 by 6, that gives us 1, and 12 divided by 6 gives us 2. Now we rewrite these fractions. It gives us 2/3 less 1/2. I think that's easier to subtract using our butterfly method. Again, we multiply the denominators, gives us 6. And then we multiply 2 and 2, that gives us 4. We multiply 3 and 1, it gives us 3. Since our process is subtraction, we subtract 4 less 3. It gives us 1. 1/6 is in the lowest term, therefore it is our final answer. Now there's another trick in subtracting this kind of fractions. Well, according to my evaluation, 12 is a factor of 24. I am looking at the denominators now. Now I want to make this easy because the easiest way to perform an operation in addition and subtraction of fractions is to make the fractions similar fractions. Now, I want to make 16 over 24 a similar fraction of 6/12 without changing its value. I think 24 divided by 2 will give me a denominator of 12. So I will divide 16 by 2. That gives 8, and then 24 divided by 2 gives 12. Now let's rewrite the fractions. We have 8/12 less 6/12. Now that's easier to subtract. We copy the common denominator and subtract the numerators. Now we have 2 over 12. And then, since this is not in the lowest term, because we still have a common factor, and the greatest common factor is 2. We divide 2 by 2, that gives us 1, and 12 divided by 2 gives us 6. Our final answer is 1/6. If you have noticed, it doesn't matter what process or method you use, as long as you use the correct process, our answer or our final answer will not change because it is always in the lowest term. Whichever method you're comfortable with, you use it. Let's have another example. 2 and 1/4 less 1/2 is equal to. Now, since I have been dealing with fractions for a long time now, I can evaluate this fraction as I cannot just subtract this because 1/4 is less than 1/2. And how did I know it? We can still use the butterfly method to easily assess which fraction is greater than and which fraction is less than. We multiply 1 and 2, the answer is 2. We multiply 1 and 4, the answer is 4. Now 2 is less than 4, therefore 1/4 is less than 1/2, and we cannot subtract 1/2 from 1/4. So we have to think of an idea to transform 2 and 1/4 into an improper fraction so that we can subtract 1/2 from it. Now, to change mixed fraction to improper fraction, for the numerator, we multiply the whole number by the denominator and add the product to the numerator. And for the denominator, we just simply copy the denominator. Let's try. 2 multiplied by 4 gives us 8. Then we add 1. The answer is 9. 9 is our numerator. Then our denominator is 4 because we just copied the common denominator. Now 9/4 less 1/2 is now possible because if you're going to remember how we assessed the fraction earlier, 9 multiplied by 2 is 18. 4 multiplied by 1 is 4. No, 18 is greater than 4. We can subtract the fractions. And we are going to use again the butterfly method. But in this case, I am not going to draw a butterfly anymore because I have used to do this in my previous examples. Now we're going to try to train you how to add and subtract fractions, dissimilar fractions, mentally. Now, first thing we do, we multiply the denominators, 4 and 2, that gives us 8. Then we multiply 9 and 2, it gives us 18. Multiply 1 and 4, it gives us 4. 18 less 4 is equal to 14. 14 over 8 is not in the lowest term. It has the greatest common factor, that is 2. We divide 14 and 8 by 2 gives us 7 over 4. For the improper fraction, 7 over 4 is accepted, but we can just change it to a mixed fraction. How many 4s are there in 7? There is only 1. Then 7 less 4 is equal to 3. So our mixed form is 1 and 3/4. And that's our final answer. Now to sum it up, first, we evaluate the fractions. That is, if they are similar fractions, if they are dissimilar fractions, and if the fractions are in the higher term. Now remember that before we proceed to the operations, we must first evaluate the fractions in order for us to use an operation that is appropriate for the given fractions. Second, we proceed to the operation. It is either addition or subtraction of fractions. Then we evaluate the final answer. We have to check if the answer is in the lowest term. You have to remember that there is only vertical cancellation applicable in addition and subtraction of fractions. And that's the end of our video about addition and subtraction of fractions. I hope that you have learned a lot. I hope that you can answer your modules correctly and easily because of the tips that I have taught you today. If you have any questions or comments, you can just comment below. For my next video, I am going to talk about your lesson 2, which is addition and subtraction of decimals. Thank you for watching.